Hi there. Have you ever promised yourself you'll start something new, only to find yourself stuck in the same place weeks, months, or even years later? Maybe it's about that conversation, difficult one that you have been avoiding. Maybe you've stayed in a particular situation for a long time, though you know it's unhealthy, you are still sticking to it. And then all you try to convince yourself that the problem is a lack of opportunity, a lack of resource, or it's just a bad timing. But what if the real obstacle isn't outside of you? What if? What if your emotions are quietly standing in the way of your growth? What if? I just want you to think about this. Welcome to Streams of Emotions. My name is Moses. You can call me Mo for short. And here we learn, we listen, and lessen the load of emotions. I'm really glad you are here with me again. You see, many people think growth is a knowledge or a resource problem, but oftentimes it's an emotional problem with a cover up. Yes, growth sometimes isn't stopped by what you don't know or what you don't have, but it's stopped by how you are feeling or what you feel about the growth. Let's look at this situation. Let's say that you want to start a project or you want to apply for a job. And you may have the qualifications, you may have the experiences, or you may have what it takes to start whatever you want to do. But sometimes you don't have the edge to start it at all, to apply for the job or to start a project. And oftentimes, once again, it's not because you lack the skill, but it's because of a fear that you have. Maybe the fear of what if it fails? What if I'm rejected? What if people realize I'm not good enough? What if I don't succeed? What if it doesn't work as expected? And those tendency to avoid situations where failure feels possible is what we call the fear of failure. And ironically, I want you to know that avoiding failure often prevents success. And the fear of failure can keep you in the prison of your comfort zone. Sometimes we just want to avoid failure and we end up only stuck in our comfort zone. So we know this zone, we need to move beyond it, but the fear of failure keeps us stuck in that kind of uncomfort zone. Maybe yours is not about a fear of failure, but it's about disappointment. Let's say you tried something before and you failed, or you applied for a job, or you applied for a research, grant, or you applied for something and you got rejected, or you laughed openly with an open heart and you got hurt, or you served others well willingly and you felt unappreciated, or you started something and it failed. You see, those disappointments can end up building up a philosophy in your life. And you may end up saying things like this: I don't expect much anymore. I'm just being realistic. I don't want to get my hopes up. Oftentimes, when you hear people saying this, it's because they have had some disappointment of the past, or someone related to them have had disappointment of the past. And this puts us in a position that psychologists refer to it as learned avoidance. And the learned avoidance is when you try to alter your behavior to prevent an unpleasant emotion, sensation, or situation. So immediately, learned avoidance will give you a bit of a relief, but practically, it puts you in a trap where the brain tries to protect you from something it perceives as being dangerous. And at the end of it, it's reinforcing the fear, it's reinforcing the disappointment, it's reinforcing that behavior that has happened or that previously happened in your life. So, if you really want to get beyond learned avoidance, then we need to practically learn how to do what we fear. That is when the brain reduces the consciousness of reinforcing those behavior. The reality is this: disappointment can be a chapter in life, but don't let that be the title of your life. There is a story that really drives this home very well, and that is the story of Michael Jordan. We know Michael Jordan to be one of the greatest basketball player ever. But fewer people know about what he went through when he had to be cut off from the high school varsity basketball team as a teenager. He went through this. He was taken out of the team and he was sent to a junior team, and that made Michael Jordan feel bad about himself, his abilities, and his prospect in basketball. And that disappointment could have been a permanent emotional wound for Michael Jordan. But instead of allowing that to distract him emotionally, Michael Jordan used that as a motivation. So later, Jordan reflected on the importance of failure in his development. I believe one of the things we can practically learn from Michael Jordan's situation is that failure is not always the obstacle. Sometimes your emotional response to failure is the obstacle. So how are you responding emotionally to the situations that has happened to you? I may not know the setback that has happened in your life, but what I know is that if only you critically assess those setbacks, you can use it as a stepping stone for something bigger or better in your life. Don't let the situation eat more from you. No, use it for something better. So, these are some of the practical ways that we can do to help us whenever emotions seem to block our growth. One is we take one small action at a time. Growth rarely begins with giant steps. No, it doesn't work that way. It usually starts with one small step. Maybe it's just making that call, it's just sending that email, it's starting the conversation, it's about filling the application, or it's about reading one chapter, taking one step at a time. The reason, once again, is that action often reduces fear, disappointment, and all those things that our brains try to enforce more effectively than thinking. So, one, start small. And two is that separate feelings from facts. You may feel afraid, that doesn't mean danger exists. You may feel inadequate, that does not mean that you are incapable. It is important to draw a distinction between what your emotions are telling you and the facts of the situation. Both matters. This is because they are not the same thing. In all, I just want you to understand this. So far as we yearn for growth, there will always be some emotions which are unpleasant that may serve as a hindrance to our growth. Nevertheless, we shouldn't allow those emotions to stop us. This week, I just want you to pay attention to the emotions behind your hesitation, your reaction, your avoidance, and your excuses. Why? This is because sometimes it's not that the door is locked, but it's because our fear is standing in front of the door. Next time on the Streams of Emotions, we'll continue with another segment where we seek to understand what our emotions really are. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, learn about your emotions, listen to them, and use them productively instead of allowing them to manipulate you. Have a wonderful time. Bye.